Making It Work is brought to you by Wealthsimple, which gives everyone access to simple, affordable investing on cruise control.
For as long as I can remember, I've always loved clothes. As a former fashion blogger, I used to covet trends like they were gospel and made sure I was rarely tagged in the same outfit twice. On average, I bought at least one new item a week. Hitting the mall was my main hobby, and I had next-day delivery subscriptions to multiple online stores. But I was so focused on staying in style that I never stopped to think about why my clothes were so cheap and quickly available. Then I started learning about the environmental impact of fast fashion. That is, cheap clothing made at a rapid pace to keep up with the latest trends, and realized the damage my shopping habit was contributing to. The fashion industry accounts for 10% of global carbon emissions, according to the United Nations Environment Program. A single pair of jeans requires about 2,000 gallons of water to make, and the equivalent of a garbage truckload of clothing is dumped into a landfill or burned every second. And that's before you even get into the appalling conditions faced by the garment workers. Once I knew the facts, it was impossible to enjoy buying clothes in the same way. In many other areas, I was making an effort to do more for the environment, like swapping single-use plastic water bottles for a reusable one and taking the bus instead of Ubers everywhere. But all of this felt pointless unless I quit fast fashion too. Truthfully, I had another incentive. I was getting tired of following trends. It was exhausting trying to keep up, not to mention expensive. I realized it wasn't making me feel particularly happy or good about myself either. And rather than conforming to a narrow set of fashion rules, I wanted the freedom to start dressing for myself. All of this led to my decision last year to quit fast fashion and stop buying new clothes. For a while, it worked brilliantly. I rediscovered clothes that had been lurking in the back of my wardrobe and got into the swing of secondhand shopping. But I struggled whenever I needed a specific item. After unsuccessfully scouring every vintage store I knew for a simple black dress, I started wondering, how hard would it be to make one instead? So I decided to take matters into my own hands and sign up for a sewing course. I had virtually no sewing experience, barring a few classes in high school, and I needed to get right back to basics. I did some research online and came across a small studio offering dressmaking classes for beginners. On their website, the studio owners talked about sewing as a type of slow fashion, the environmentally and wallet-friendly opposite to fast fashion. It seemed like a perfect fit. Over the course of a weekend, I went from being unable to work a sewing machine to making my own A-line skirt. Learning to sew in such a short time was intensive. The class worked for around 6 hours a day with only a 15-minute lunch break. But by the end, I felt like I'd mastered the foundations of sewing. When I tried on the finished skirt, it fit perfectly. And knowing I had created it myself felt amazing. From then on, I was hooked. The following week, I bought a sewing machine and some basic supplies, and I started creating pieces for my handmade wardrobe. I soon moved on from simple skirts to more intricate dresses, and now around a third of the items in my wardrobe are handmade. The machine and supplies cost $150. On top of the $250 I paid for the course, $400 in total. It felt like a lot at the time, but I knew it would be worth it. I was right. Even with the price of the fabric, sewing still works out a lot cheaper than buying new clothes. A skirt that would be $30 in a store costs about half of that to make, and I always choose high-quality materials so I know my clothes will last. It's also totally broken my habit of buying, wearing, and then discarding clothes. Sewing each item takes time, which makes me value it more than something I could have quickly picked up in a store. I also don't care about having a cute new outfit every week anymore. I'll happily rewear clothes to get the maximum wear out of them, and nothing beats getting a compliment on something I've made. Now I can see that the joy I used to get from shopping was short-lived. Once the buzz of buying and wearing a new outfit wore off, I'd start looking for something new to have the same thrill all over again. I never realized how stressful it was traipsing around from store to store, feeling like I never had enough clothes, until I stopped. By contrast, I've since pared my wardrobe down to some basic tees, jumpers, and a pair of jeans that I mix and match with my handmade skirts and dresses. It may be smaller, but the satisfaction I get from it is so much more authentic. And it also makes getting dressed in the mornings a lot easier. I quit fast fashion to reduce my carbon footprint, and in doing so, have completely changed my outlook on fashion. It's taught me the value of quality over quantity and has given me the confidence to cultivate my own unique style. And perhaps, most surprisingly of all, it's made my love of clothes even stronger.
Living a financially secure life doesn't mean forgoing anything fun. It just means deciding what's actually worth your money and what isn't. And when you take control of your spending, it's a lot easier to start prioritizing your future. With Wealthsimple, you can set up an investment account in just a few minutes. Wealthsimple is online investing that's as simple and human as it gets. In just 5 minutes, they'll build you a custom portfolio to fit your personal goals and timeline. Just answer a few easy questions and they'll manage your money for you on autopilot. Set it, forget it, and let your money grow in the background. You can turn on automatic deposits as well as set up a smart savings account with higher rates than big banks for your shorter-term goals, your wedding, your next great adventure, or that handbag you need. They also have a socially responsible portfolio that invests in green stocks and companies that support gender diversity. The fees are much lower than big banks, and TFD viewers will get their first $10,000 managed for free with no minimum deposit. Check them out at wealthsimple.com/TFD or use the link in our description. There are no account minimums, and it only takes a few minutes to start. No excuses.